overnight. The U.S. Embassy in Jordan issuing a security alert urging Americans to consider leaving the Middle East as U.S. assets and allies in the region face attacks by Iran.
Meanwhile, here at home, President Trump took Friday's cabinet meeting to Camp David, where he told reporters the military is ready to ramp up strikes if progress isn't made on the diplomatic front.
Steve Harrigan joins us now with the latest. Steve.
That's right. That warning from the U.S. Embassy in Jordan telling Americans not to travel to the region or, if they are here now, to consider leaving. And it comes as President Trump has issued a warning that the U.S. could launch major attacks against Iran. The president saying those attacks could come as early as this weekend and they could last for several days. Here's the president.
We'll be hitting them. We'll be hitting them very hard. And, at some point they're going to say, we just can't take it anymore.
You can sense some frustration in the president yesterday about Iran's negotiating tactics, negotiating for days at a time, and then suddenly striking U.S. assets in the region, attempting to strike U.S. military positions in the region, and also attacking civilian shipping. Here's President Trump on negotiating with the Iranians.
I'm losing faith in them because they do lie and they do misrepresent. Well, the other day, the 5 missiles were shot. We knocked them down, but we were in the midst of a negotiation. I mean, I'm waiting for Steve to call me. How's the negotiation going? And instead, I got a call from Pete that they just shot 5 missiles at one of our bases in Jordan.
If there are major attacks, it's not clear whether or not Israel would be a part of them. They've largely been on the sidelines for the past 7 weeks of this war. Guys, back to you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Steve. Truly a tragic situation. And of course, as we've talked all along, I feel like Iran has dreadfully miscalculated President Trump, especially when you wind up actually killing U.S. soldiers. If you think that you're going to bully Trump or push Trump into backing down because of an upcoming midterm election, any hope of that goes out the window when you wind up killing U.S. service members. We lost the lives of 3 service members in Jordan on a base after it was struck by missiles from Iran. One of those soldiers was laid to rest yesterday, I believe, in New York, in Queens. And among the people that were there was Mayor Mamdani, who was intending to speak at the event, at the funeral, and the family was not interested in having him speak at the family. Here's the New York Post.
Yeah, there he is on the right. Is that him?
The silent treatment, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think that, look, there's nothing nice about war. This is always the worst case scenario. But I think when you look at this president and the strategy he's employed here, you look at the situation we just saw resolved in Gaza with the Board of Peace coming to this agreement. It will mean that in perpetuity, the people there in Gaza who were constantly being talked about, people, the pro-Palestine crowd, Free Palestine, all these people are pretty silent now. They may want to thank the president because without him, they'd be living under terrorist rule. Hamas would be ruling their lives. They would be living in misery. And now they have a hope for a better future, but it was strategy. And it didn't happen overnight. And I think when we're looking at a situation like we have in Iran, you have to look at how the president has operated this whole way. It's been very strategic. He's tried to be diplomatic about it. But you look at the way he decimated their military. You look at the way that he attacked economically. And now they're kind of boxed into a corner. And you're right. He is not worried about anything that is politically advantageous, Charlie. He's worried about doing the right thing at the right time, and that time is now.
And it's worth noting, President Trump was at the dignified transfer of those 3 fallen heroes. Mm-hmm. And he saw those caskets draped in the American flag being carried off of a plane coming back to the U.S. You saw in that video of Sergeant Rampersad yesterday being carried in a flag-draped coffin. President Trump has talked about the hardest job any president has, is going to Dover and greeting a dignified transfer. And I think that this family feels that, listen, you have done nothing but rail against President Trump, you're the mayor, stay out of the foreign policy lane, and also do not simply bring politics into the most sacred, painful moment of our lives. And you have to really put that in context, and you begin to have empathy for the family and why they felt that way.
Yeah.
But yet, Mayor Mamdani is bringing politics into it.
Yeah, indeed.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.